The Louis Bellina Show, Hour 2, hosted by Tony Catalina, a Friday edition, alongside producer Caleb Rapoli here. Just got done with some football, tickets, prices, top 25. Talked about that. We talked to Zach Clements. We talked some basketball. Hour 2, we're going to shift gears a little bit, talk some baseball, transfer portal, MLB draft, wrap that up, and we got another special guest here. Texas A&M head coach Michael Earley will be joining us at 12:16, so you don't want to miss that. Going to talk everything Texas A&M baseball, and it kind of is a perfect, unperfect segue into this section where I just wanted to talk about the offseason transfer portal. I feel like there's been enough baseball transfer portal. It's kind of slowed down, quieted a little bit. A&M at one point in time was fast and furious with the additions. Obviously started off with infielder Jack Bell being the first one. They wrapped up and hit a twofer lately with the Tyler Minnick and the Dylan Schlegel additions last week. But I think the biggest piece of all this, and Caleb, I know you're a big baseball guy. We talk about it all the time. Just the addition or the welcoming back of Clayton Freshcorn after being drafted in the 20th round to decide to forego his professional and come back at Texas A&M has made this weekend rotation potentially just so much stronger. Just what an absolute addition there. Kind of want to start there, Caleb. Your thoughts? I know you have some. Clayton Freshcorn back in the fold. Just how big of a deal is that?
Well, first of all, your transfer portal tracker on Gig 'em 24/7. I know that they're not a sponsor or anything. It's been really, really helpful.
Thank you.
Great job with that.
I've been grinding on that.
Yeah, because like we talked about, I've guest hosted some stuff, and I've used this list multiple times.
Appreciate that. That is.
Thank you for making the formatting easy. Because everybody else, it takes like 30 minutes of just trying to get everything to fit on a page. Anyway, to answer your question. Yes, Clayton Freshcorn, I think he will have the biggest impact. He'll have a bigger impact than any of these incoming transfers, in my opinion. Bringing him back is a bigger addition by just staying the same, by not losing him. That's a bigger addition than anybody you could have brought in my opinion.
Hold on, let me ask you this. Hypothetically, if you would have hit the transfer portal, is he like the top pitcher in the transfer portal? Is he top 3?
So I don't know if he's really considered. I don't know if the college baseball world considers him as big of a piece that we do here, just because we know what he's capable of more than others. Because with relief pitchers at the college level, I feel like relief pitchers, even when they do really well, aren't regarded as highly as a starter who's just pretty good.
Yeah.
So I think like, for example, Johnny Nuanez from Wichita State. Fantastic performance, 2.56 ERA for him. That I think if him and Freshcorn were both in the portal, I think people might lean towards Nuanez just because he's what he's shown as a starter. And I do think that he's going to be fantastic. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But Freshcorn, I think, might be one of the most talented players in college baseball next year. And I'm really excited to see what he's going to do with a full season as a starter. Because I think he'll absolutely be in the rotation.
I agree. And it's funny to watch him last year, or not even 2025, 2024, my first year on the beat, to see the maturation, right? Because he had such good stuff in 2024, but it needed some fine tuning, right? It felt like 2024 was coming out. He had the velocity, he had the speed, he had some put out stuff, like really just impressive things. And then last year, to be in that battle, if people remember, going into fall ball, at the end of fall ball, it was between Aiden Sims and Clayton Freshcorn, essentially, for that Sunday spot. And I think it shook out how it needed to shake out. Sims ended up being one of the best, if not the best, weekend arm they had. Clayton Freshcorn was, an elite stopper in the bullpen as a closer. It kind of just worked out. But what's really impressive to me is just the maturation and how he seems to have improved every year. And then, obviously, situations dictate circumstances, but Clayton Freshcorn gets the start in the final game of the year, gives you everything he had. And, when you look at it in a vacuum, you're like, if this is his last performance in an A&M like uniform, you tip the cap to him. But now, since he's coming back, you look at this and say, man, this could be an absolute springboard. This kid is going to be a menace for them. I love his energy, right? He's somebody, between him and Weston Moss, fiery on the mound. Oh, yeah. I love that, right? I need competitors. I need people who give a damn about what they're doing. He's one of those guys. He's going to be an immense addition.
So I think Fresh Corn, you were talking about the emotion.
Yeah.
I think Fresh Corn is... that was one of the things with Weston Moss that was kind of to his detriment at times because he really did wear his emotions on his sleeve. Like you could tell when he was pitching bad, like when he wasn't feeling it. But I think Fresh Corn was one of those guys that I felt he does a really good job of containing himself while he's pitching, and then when he's coming off the mound, he shows that fire that you want to see, which I think is the best possible way to be, being able to channel it into your game, but also not let it control you.
Right. No, I totally agree. I'm with you there. And to your point, eloquently spoken, is just to be able to channel it, to use it the right way, to use it to his strength but not his detriment. Yeah. I think that's super beneficial. Obviously, we could spend all day on Clay and Fresh Corn, but let's kind of take a look at some of these additions. I mean, A&M got after it in the portal. It seemed like, even I believe it was like a slow start, right? Wasn't it kind of slow drip in the first few days?
So Bell was like immediate.
Yeah.
And then
because it made too much sense.
It was, yeah, for sure. It was like it felt like it was one or two every couple days there for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then once Enright got hired, the pitchers started rolling in, like, for sure. It felt like one every 30 minutes for a little while there.
Yeah.
And then that last little burst with Minnick and Schlegel coming in, that was kind of a big push that I wasn't expecting. I think it's been pretty consistent, and it'll be really interesting to see how many of these guys end up starting,
right?
Like, as far as the hitters go.
So good segue to the hitters. Is the best bat, in your opinion, just the obvious Nate Savoy?
I think it has to be. He's the most proven power guy. 16 homers last year with Clemson. But if we're talking just pure bat to ball skills, like a Jake Dewar kind of guy, a Jack Bell kind of guy that we've seen here at A&M in the last few years, Lane Arroyos could be that guy. Hitting 361 for any team at any level of baseball is really hard.
Sure.
And he did it at Western Kentucky, which is a D1 school.
Right.
And I've heard that it's kind of a hard place to hit home runs.
Yeah.
So only 6 homers. Most people see, even if you have the high batting average, they see 6 homers and they're like, he's just not gonna, develop into anything. But playing at Olsen Field,
it can help.
And you hit the ball hard because he had, 24 doubles last year.
Yeah.
We know he can hit the ball hard. He could pop off and kind of come out. I could see him as a sleeper that people aren't going to expect to be as good as he is. He might end up being a top 3-4 in the order type of guy for us. I think I could see him hitting third. And it wouldn't really surprise me.
You kind of stole my thunder with it because it's the perfect answer. No, you're good. It's the perfect answer. A rising senior, a guy who's played a lot of baseball. Obviously, he slashed 361, 475, and 572.
475.
It's insane, right?
That is
475. 475, 572.
Without getting hit 30 times in a season like Bear Harrison
Right,
did.
exactly. No, you're absolutely right. 75 hits, 52 runs. You mentioned the 24 doubles. He's a guy, and that's something I worry about a lineup a little bit, right? Because when you lose a Caden Sorrell, when you lose a Gavin Grahovac and a Chris Hakopian, you worry about the pop in the middle of the lineup. Even Bear Harrison, who's when he got a hold of it, that thing flew, right? So the bat to ball looks like it's going to be a check, absolutely. But where's the power come from? It's got to be Jorian, right? I think Nate Savoy. I think you're absolutely right about Lane. He's going to be a guy who you sit here and you say he hit 12 to 15 home runs. I think nobody would be surprised. At least I wouldn't be surprised, just based on what Bluebell Park does. Another year under, because Coach Earley, the underrated factor in this is how good of a hitting coach Michael Earley is, right? Like, he is somebody who gets the most out of his bats. He's proven it. even in 2024, when there were some struggles in 2025, and then into 2026, where there were some struggles, they've showed some real year-over-year improvement in the batting lineup when he took over and he was the guy handling the hitting. But when you look at this, right, you look at Jack Bell, somebody I think who's going to plug in, right? Do you move him to short? Do you kick Boston Kellner over to second? Like, you know what I mean? Partita at third. Do you have Lance play first base, or is it Blake Binder up? Like, where do you find first? I think that corner spot, first base, left field, or whatever, is going to be an intriguing situation.
Yeah. We're going to, honestly, there's nobody, any of the guys that came back from last season, yes, they have that experience, but I think that all of them, except maybe Partita, are going to have to earn their way back into the lineup.
Right.
I think Partita and maybe Wilson are close to locks.
Sure.
But Boston Kellner, true freshman, started at shortstop all year for us, did great, but he's going to have to earn his spot. There's going to be no, you came back, thanks for coming back, here's your spot back.
Yeah.
Jack Bell coming in, Tyler Minnick coming in from Connecticut,
right,
is a guy that, he had a little bit of a down year last year. I think he might have been dealing with some injuries.
Still hit 355.
Right. But in 2025 with Connecticut, he hit 350 with 22 bombs.
Wow.
So if he can get back to that, that's another guy that you have in the middle of your order that can hit it. And then the freshman coming in, I think at least one of the freshmen is going to start on this team opening day. Whether it's C.J. Sampson, Ryan Harwood, Catcher Hopkins, one of those guys is going to take a spot from some of these more experienced players, in my opinion. I think there's too much talent coming in this freshman class that all of these guys that already have experience, one of them's going to end up on the bench, which is great for our depth. Don't get me wrong. But there's really not enough spots in the lineup, which is a great problem to have.
Yeah, and you look at it, to your point about the freshmen, is 3 starting freshmen last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
don't think it's going to be that.
No, it won't be that. It won't be that. But you look at a Boston Kellner and Nico Partita, 2 guys that kind of just took the position and ran with it from the jump and never relinquished it. Then you got a guy like Jorian Wilson, who a little green when he got here, but he found himself a role, found himself an everyday player, and now looks to be, at least, if he's not a cornerstone piece player for this program, he's at least one of those valuable guys that you have to have in the fold, right? Like, his power is undeniable. His arm strength is insane from the right field corner. Like, he's a guy that now, instead of just talking about Nico and talking about Boston Kellner, you have a legit third guy who is a legit freshman piece there.
Yeah.
To that point, like, you got a guy like Terrence Keel. I think it's a massive season for him.
Yes.
It's a huge year for him, right? And he is undeniably, you could say, I'm a body language guy. He is a great teammate.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great competitor. You want him to be out there. But when he wasn't, he was an outstanding teammate. He was the first guy out of the dugout to greet somebody. But on the field, and I know he's up in the Cape Cod League. He's playing for the Brewster squad up there, and he's getting some valuable reps up there. It's great baseball. I should say so myself as a Massachusetts guy. But he's up there. He's working it. But this is a massive third season for him, right? Because what he had came in and broke through as a freshman, bat the ball, guy who found a way to get on base, super fast, really good defensive guy in the outfield. But does it kind of move past him a little bit this year with some of these new additions, right? Does he find his way into the everyday lineup? Does he find his way to carve out an everyday role? Obviously, whatever it is, he's going to be ready to do, but it's an important season for him. And before we kind of change gears or whatever, I got to take somebody I'm super excited about in here and we hadn't really talked about. I think he's going to be the steal of the portal. I think it's going to be Wade Cooper from Texas State, the right-hand pitcher.
Yeah.
This guy, rising sophomore, so he has a year or 2 under the belt he can play. 7-3 record, 4.73 ERA, which is but 73 strikeouts in 23 appearances. I think he's got some power stuff. I think he's somebody he's a punch-out guy. And he looked decent against A&M, right? Mm-hmm. And he had looked strong in the College Station Regional.
He pitched in that game that we lost to Texas State.
Yes, he did.
In San Marcos.
Yep. So in midweek action, helped kind of beat A&M, take them down, which was a surprise at the time because they were rolling in the midweek. That was their only midweek loss, if I remember correctly. And so I'm excited about him. I think he's somebody that can come in, but a testament to the fact that they let go of Jason Kelly, kind of had to cobble it together in the meantime in the early going of transfer portal, bring in Enright, and just hit the ground running absolutely like they didn't miss any ground. It's been a super, super impressive offseason for them, in my opinion, right? I don't know if you agree. Are you as high on this portal as I potentially am?
Yes, absolutely. I think you could almost build a starting lineup and rotation just of the guys that we got, and you would be one of the best teams in the SEC.
For sure.
So I would say that I'm looking forward to the outfield competition because there's a lot of guys that can contribute, but I don't know if it's any more or less competitive than the infield's going to be.
Right.
I think Partita might end up moving to shortstop.
He could.
Because I was talking about Tyler Minnick earlier. He's more of a third base kind of guy. So if he ends up, if it ends up that you don't want to keep his bat out of the lineup, you maybe stick him at third, slide Partita over to short.
Then second base becomes a battle.
Then second base becomes a battle. Kellner, they were talking about putting Kellner in the outfield this year. So I don't know if that could end up coming to fruition if the infield is too crowded. Guys like TK are going to have a tough time finding their way into the lineup just because of the depth that we're going to have this year. Dylan Schlegel from DBU. 12 homers last year, 600 slugging percentage. So, like, his batting average wasn't that high. He was kind of like a Blake Benderup kind of guy for us, kind of a similar mold. Just got a little more playing time than Blake did. So, there's a lot of guys in this portal that will probably end up taking some spots from some Aggies that might have been expecting one just because kind of that next man up mentality. In the past in college, you're that freshman that's been sitting under a senior starter like TK behind Sorrell and Jace. He kind of maybe would expect this year to just not have it handed to him, but have more of an opportunity. It's going to be tough for him to make his way into the lineup, but with this extra competition, I think it's going to make everybody better.
I totally agree, and it's a great segue into the fact that we're going to talk to the mastermind of it all. Texas A&M Baseball head coach Michael Earley, coming out of the break here. We're going to have him on here on the D4 Land Services hotline. Catch us with the break. We'll be right back with Michael Earley on the Zone.
Do you need help with your air conditioning? Like, it can be fast repairs. Maybe it's routine maintenance. Maybe you just need a brand new system. Well, Still Creek Mechanical, they're the help you need. You can go get that more information, stillcreekmechanical.com. You can go schedule an AC consultation at stillcreekmechanical.com. And you can get $100 off of all repairs just by saying The Zone, the Louis Bellina Show. Louis Bellina, that's right. Mention any, and you get $100 off of repairs. You can call. It's not just all websites. You can call 979-595-4253. Still Creek Mechanical's Aggie-owned, operated. Still Creek Mechanical, been serving the Brazos Valley for over 20 years. Still Creek Mechanical. They have the services. They can do all the services, all makes, all models, and they treat your home like it's their home. Go to the website, stillcreekmechanical.com.
Blending Southern culture with college football.
You guys are awesome.
Music, sport commentary, and more. It's Marty and McGee.
Marty and McGee.
Saturday mornings from 6 to 9 on the Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
The Louis Bellina Show, Friday edition, hosted by Tony Catalina alongside producer Caleb Rapoli. Joined here on the D4 Land Services hotline by a special guest, Texas A&M Baseball head coach Michael Earley. Coach, how are you doing today, and how's the summer been? Because I don't know how much chilling you've been doing. It seems like you guys have been on the run doing a lot of work this summer.
Tony, they got you running the show today, huh?
Yeah. We had joked about potentially doing a podcast together. I think this is the next best thing I could do to get you on here to talk on the radio.
I like it. This will be our pilot to what we're going to do later on.
Exactly. We got to feel it and see how it feels.
Yeah. It's been good. We, obviously the portal, you kind of hit the ground running right when the season starts, and then we're kind of shifting, right when the season ends, and then we're kind of moving into our high school recruiting as we've kind of wrapped the portal up and put some finishing touches on it. So it's been, it's fast and furious, and it's kind of like a 3-week blitz, but it is what it is, and I think we've done a really good job this summer.
Absolutely. And so obviously you guys have had a lot of great additions in, a lot of good moves, but in the last week or so, the addition of Clayton Freshcorn, obviously getting him back into the fold. I mean, we can talk about it all day, but from your perspective, just getting a guy like Clayton Freshcorn back in the fold here, just what does that do for your staff, for your program, and just like year 3 under your system here?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge from a lot of aspects, from a leadership standpoint, quality of person standpoint. But yeah, and just making your team better too. I mean, if that guy's in the transfer portal, he's the number 1 ranked player in the portal. So that's a huge addition. So he's, I think we think he has a chance to be a big time weekend starter in the SEC, and he's going to get that opportunity. So we're excited to get him with Coach Enright, and I think there's some things he can improve on, which might sound crazy, but there is, and we think he can, get us deep into games and be a dominant starter in the SEC.
For sure, and obviously we talk about some program-changing players. 8 Texas A&M Aggies get drafted last weekend. I don't know, we haven't got your thoughts on it, so I just want to talk about what last weekend was like. Obviously, 3 guys taken in the first day, and then just continue to see just a good weekend for Texas A&M baseball. When you put a bow on the MLB draft, what does it mean for the program to see just how successful it was for you guys?
It's great. I mean, it shows, these kids come here with a dream, and part of your job is to help them achieve part of that dream, which ultimately is to become a major leaguer. But you want to, create those relationships with them and just work. And it's a grind, and you spend a lot of time with these guys. And, I've known Gavin Grahovic and Caden Sorrell since they were 14 or 15 years old, and just seeing that come to fruition, and Chris coming over, and Shane and Bear, and, all the guys, Weston, I'm sorry if I missed someone. And even we lost a couple high school guys in the top 2 rounds, which obviously you want them to come to school, but you are happy for them because, that's pretty big time potential life-changing money they received, and just everyone in general just super happy. It's always a very positive day, and sad because they're gone, right? You don't replace Gavin Grahovic or Caden Sorrell and what they've meant to the program, but you're super happy for them and what they've accomplished.
Yeah, and to your point, you mentioned Chris there briefly, Hakopian, just when you get a guy like that who comes in, completely buys into the program, is somebody who just fit right into the culture almost immediately, and then you see him go and get drafted in the first round, and to be able to go back home, just how, obviously, as a human level, you're happy for him, but when you look at your program and what you're trying to build here in College Station, just how valuable is it to see a guy like that come in here and the proof of concept that, hey, if you come to A&M, you can go and do everything you want and be a first-round draft pick?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's awesome for him, awesome for the program. You wanted the relationship to work out for both parties, right? And what Chris did here and what he brought to this program, this wasn't just a transactional relationship. Like, that guy's an Aggie for life. I felt like he was here for 5 years, even though it was just 1. So it was massive. Yeah, and we've had some portal guys come in and go in the first round, guys go in other spots. So it's definitely good. From that aspect, but yeah, Chris Hakopian was a gem, man. We didn't know what kind of guy we were getting and what kind of leader we were getting because the process is just so quick. But he's one of those guys that's one of my all-time favorite players, and I only had him for a year.
Hey, Coach, Caleb here. So we were just talking about Hakopian, who only spent 1 year as an Aggie. Under your leadership, Texas A&M has really shown the ability to bring in guys like that and have fantastic seasons, and then be beloved by the fans. Guys like Hakopian this year and Wyatt Hensler in 2025. So, how much of an impact do you think that had on recruiting other guys from the transfer portal like Nate Savoy, Lane Arroyos? Did that help out any?
Yeah, I think like you said, it shows proof that you can come here and not only get better, but to have a great experience. And I think those guys do a really good job of talking on their experience. And I think A&M kind of speaks for itself. To be honest with you, it attracts a certain type of kid and the type of kids we want. So I think that's why you see like the fan enjoyment of them. But I think when from their perspective they see these guys coming and having success, it definitely helps. So, and we've just had some. I mean, the character of these guys that we've gotten is just I can't even. I wish Wyatt Hensler and Chris Hakopian could have played together, right? You think all these guys, and but yeah, man, I think all of it. It's a big effort from a lot of different areas, from the coaching staff to the culture we have in the locker room, to the university, and I think that's why we've had success bringing in these guys.
And to that point, you talk about bringing in guys. It just seemed like you guys have obviously hit the ground running early, but when you brought in Coach Enright and he had been in the program, it just seemed like it went, sparked a huge plug, a huge fire within the program as far as the portal additions and things of that nature. What has he been to this program? I know it's only been a little bit of time, about a month or so. Just what has it been like working with him, and is it everything you thought it would be when you made that hire?
Yeah, to this point, for sure, and I'm confident it's going to continue to be the full picture of what I saw in him. So he's, just his ability to create relationships with these recruits early on, and even our own players, his ability to articulate a plan and a vision based on relationships and the knowledge of the modern pitching, but also the ability to have been a guy that's been a former player. He's not just a robot. He's been. I don't want to say he's exceeded my expectations, because the first 5 minutes I spent on the phone with him, he set my expectations through the roof, and we hadn't even talked about baseball yet. So he's been great, and his impact has already been felt. And it's awesome from the recruiting end, because everything he's given these guys from a recruiting perspective is just raw and real, because he's never recruited, right? So he's not. And he should take something from that, because how we recruit is we're super real and honest and authentic. So his impact on that end, just as soon as he's hit the door, guys spend 10 minutes with him and they want to come pitch here.
Absolutely. And with that, Coach, obviously we're here with Texas A&M baseball coach Michael Earley on the D4 Land Services hotline. Just want to shift gears just a little bit. Obviously, you just finished year 2 under your tutelage, under your leadership here. As you get into year 3 and obviously putting the past in the past, have you seen the substantial growth that you expected or wanted to see from year 1 to year 2 that has you confident in what you're building is being retained and just kind of embraced in College Station as you enter year 3?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think that. I don't like to look back too far, but I understand the question. Obviously we had a really good year 1, we didn't have a great season. Year 2, I thought we had a really good season. Obviously, you want to end in Omaha, but you didn't. But the idea in any baseball program, because when you get to a tournament so hard, you just want to reload and make sure you have a team that has the talent level, the ability, and the culture to put yourself in a conversation to win the national championship, period. And you just want to keep hitting that every single year. So we definitely had that. Last year, we were in that conversation, ultimately fell short, and we put together a roster. And I hate saying retain kids, because our guys want to play at Texas A&M, but that's the world we live in. So it's not. I don't want to make it sound like we had to really retain these guys. You know what I mean? But we have the roster from the guys coming back and the guys we put together to be in that conversation again. So I think the trajectory of what we're doing is evident. I think with the coaching staff we have and the players we have in the locker room, the whole support system, I feel like we're in a really, really great spot. And I'm super proud of all the hard work people put in.
Yeah, I think y'all have, it's a good problem to have when you have too many players to fill those 9 spots. Like, it feels like there's 15, 16, 17 players that could make a case to be in the starting lineup in 2027. 6 hitters in the transfer portal. Guys like Ryan Harwood, CJ Sampson coming in as true freshmen. So how difficult is it going to be for you to make those decisions of who ends up starting and who's on the bench?
I hope very difficult. You know what I mean? I'm not being funny. I hope it's I hope right. I don't know what to do, right? So that's all going to play out in the fall and the spring. But yeah, we want depth. If you want a correction from year 1 to year 2, was we had some injuries in year 1, some significant ones, no matter how you spin it. But you need depth to be behind it, and I didn't feel like we had that. So what do we do the next year? Depth, and what we do this year, even more depth. So, and with depth comes competition. And I don't think it's just backups. I think it's a lot of guys that can play, to your point. So it'll be interesting. We have a lot of pitchers. We have a lot of hitters. So we should be able to scrimmage a lot and compete. And yeah, I think in a program like this with these type of players, the best guys will rise to the top. And it's baseball. Baseball is, you can look like the best player in the world for a week at the plate, and you can look like the worst player in the world. So it's understanding that. But it's going to be, I hope, to your point, I hope it's extremely difficult, because that means we have a lot of really good players and we can do some different things with the lineup.
We're here with Texas A&M head coach Michael Earley, obviously D4 Landed Services hotline. Coach, last question before we get you out of here. As a head coach, as a program leader, as a builder of this, of this staff and this program, what does right now look like for you going into the fall? You mentioned the work that needs to be done, but in a perfect world, what does the next few months look like for you before you get back on the field and, we're talking about some fall ball action?
Yeah, I mean, right now for us, it's I'm going to Cliff Nolan and Troy are in Florida right now. I'm going to Georgia to meet up with them this week, and then we're going to California. So, right now it's recruiting the high school kids in the 28 class that we'll be talking about in a couple of years, and then it's getting together plans. I keep notes on what we did in the fall the year before, what I want to keep the same. Just putting together the calendar and what the fall will look like, even though it's subject to change. And then you got to, at some point, and I will find time to actually reflect back on the year and just kind of things I liked, things I didn't like, where we want to go. And I did that about, this time last year, just honestly with the travel from recruiting. You have a ton of time on the plane or alone in the airport where you can kind of digest, and actually you don't get time to do that because you hit the portal right away. So what adjustments we need to make, what things we need to do, and just, I think the beauty for us is having the returning players we have and setting the culture is number one. So a lot of different stuff, to be honest with you. And I'll have a ton of time to think as I'm going to be traveling around a lot here real soon.
We talked about it at the beginning. A lot of work, a lot of travel, a lot of grinding, not a lot of summer chilling. Coach Earley, I appreciate you taking the time. Like I said, this is our pilot episode potentially of something greater. No, I really do appreciate your time, Coach.
They're going to have us on Spotify or something before you know it, Tony.
Before they know it.
Caleb, he can kind of like him too. He can sit off to the side, one of those guys.
Thank you.
Here's the trio, Coach. Appreciate it so much. And again, when we get back here, we're going to talk some college football. But that was Coach Earley, Texas A&M head baseball coach, here on The Zone.
You're listening to Aggie Land's home for Aggie Baseball, the Astros, and the Bombers. The Zone. 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
Louis Bellina Show, Tony Catalina Friday edition, alongside producer Caleb Rapoli. Just had head coach Texas A&M Baseball Michael Earley on the show. Great segment. Obviously, we had Zach Clemens earlier in the first hour, early in the second hour. I really appreciate the guys taking the time. I know it's off season. I know people are grinding. They got stuff to do. I know it's the summertime. The last thing you really want to do is listen to my nasally voice talk sports with them. So, no, I appreciate them taking the time to talk with us. And I know Earley was joking, but hey, man, imagine us three on a podcast together. How fun that would be.
That'd be a lot of fun. Even if it was just like a couple times a month.
Yeah. Earley's been great. He's always fun to talk to whenever we get in the media scrums during baseball season.
I know a place we could record it.
All right, listen, yeah, we might have a studio. We might have a facility. So with that being said, want to shift gears a little bit to some football. Obviously, we know how daunting the Texas A&M football schedule is going to be this year. At least that's the perception, right? And I say that with an asterisk and just a little bit of a caveat, because we were saying this last year before people told me now this offseason it really didn't bear out that way, and that's totally fine. But on paper, this looks like a tough schedule, so tough that former Alabama quarterback and ESPN college football analyst Greg McElroy ranked it within the top 4 toughest schedules in the SEC. We have a clip queued up from Greg McElroy talking about the Texas A&M part of the section. I want to play that, and then we'll talk about it now.
The last one we'll do in the SEC is Texas A&M. And this is a road that is difficult to travel because the Aggies are coming off an 11-2 season, the first college football playoff appearance in program history, and Mike Elko's done an amazing job. So the reward for that breakthrough is probably one of the meanest road schedules in the sport. And look at the spine of it. At LSU, at Alabama, at Oklahoma. That's 3 of the loudest, most hostile buildings in America, all away from Kyle Field. And it's the timing that makes it really challenging, because 4 of A&M's final 5 games are against teams that finished last year in the AP Top 25. That lone exception is a road trip to South Carolina, which is not exactly a hammock, right? You host Arkansas, you host Tennessee, and they close the regular season against Texas Thanksgiving weekend in a rivalry that is going to be a challenging one every single year for both those teams. With Marcel Reed coming back, the roster is a genuine contender, and the schedule is a referendum on whether or not last year's 11-win jump was the floor or the ceiling, because repeating 11 wins against this slate would be a Herculean act.
Yeah, Greg is right on the money there. Obviously, we listen to Greg McElroy, former Alabama quarterback and ESPN college football analyst. He had talked about A&M's 11 wins last year and just what it would take to get that to this point this season. And I had talked about it, right? And I had said it. Now, we're going to see how it bears out on Saturdays in the fall. But I had talked about pretty openly that I think there's a chance. I'm not predicting this yet. We still got time before my predictions come out, what I think the record will be. But there is a chance that the record could be worse this season, and they're still technically a better football team in my eyes, right? There is a world where A&M is a better football team, more complete football team, but they find a way to stumble maybe one extra time, whatever the case may be. I pretty much know if you go 10-2 in the SEC, you're going to the CFP, right? I think even though it's never happened with the 9-3 team getting in, this is the year it could happen, right? If you're 9-3 in an SEC slate and your wins are against Texas, LSU, Oklahoma, and you slip and fall against, let's say Alabama, maybe you lose to South Carolina, maybe Arizona State gets you, whatever the case may be, whatever combination that doesn't look like terrible. If you're 9-3, there's a world where an SEC team can get in based on resume and strength now because of the 9-game SEC slate. Caleb, when you hear that and you hear my thoughts, where is your sense on this? Obviously, we know how tough the schedule is, right? We know how tough it's going to be for A&M. Do you buy into the idea for me that they could be technically a better football team but still finish a game or two worse than they were the year prior?
No, I completely agree. I think that probably will be the case. Yeah, if we go, first of all, if we go 11-1 against this schedule, like he said, we are top 3 team in the nation.
There'd be a case to put them top 2, right?
I'm assuming somebody's going to go undefeated.
Sure.
But when I say this, let's just say, your one loss is somebody like Bama, and then they go undefeated. I'm going to guess, either Indiana or Ohio State. So if we're 11-1, we're probably 3 behind those two. But, chaos happens. Anyway, point is, I agree. And I think this is going to be helpful for the team. If they manage to make it through it, I think that they will be more ready for a college football playoff matchup than they were last season, just because really there were only 2 or 3 games that were really like college football playoff level teams. I'm going to include Notre Dame as a talent level team. I'm not saying they deserve to get in.
They were there though, right?
They were right
sure.
there. But the problem is that game was the second or third game of the season.
Third game, Notre Dame second.
Yeah. So that's early in the season. You kind of forget about those hardships once you played 9 more games that weren't as tough, and I think there might have been a sense of false confidence. And I thought that South Carolina game would help get rid of that because of how hard they had to work to come back from that deficit. But it ended up not being that way. You saw them right after that game drop the finale to Texas on the road, and I think that kind of killed all the momentum that they had.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that if there is a loss or two in this schedule, I'm hoping it comes to an Alabama, a Tennessee, kind of in the middle of the schedule, and then you get that wake-up call that, hey, you're not the best team in the nation. You need to play like you're an underdog and fight for every yard and inch you can get, and be able to carry the momentum from that mindset change into the postseason.
And nothing you said I disagree with. I just hate the fact that recency bias in early in the season games are weighted differently and they get measured differently, right? Because we had talked about that Notre Dame win almost being Elko defining, that's his defining win to this point, right? And then as it goes on, the season goes on, it gets diminished. Notre Dame doesn't make it. People try to talk down on the schedule. We look at LSU, right? Gus Nussmeier was supposed to be a Heisman Trophy contender. Arch Manning was supposed to be a Heisman Trophy. DJ Lagway was supposed to be in the Heisman Trophy. Lenora Sellers was supposed to be in. This is all these guys. Just because it didn't bear out like that annoys me, because half of those guys are. obviously Gus Nussmeier is moving forward, but Arch Manning, they're talking about Texas is like the second coming, right? Like this is going to be the greatest team on turf. That's how they're talking about Texas this year. Then you talk about Lenore Sellers with a bounce back in South Carolina, and you're talking about LSU under Sam Leavitt is going to be a national title contender, and like Alabama, I think Alabama is down. Personally, I think Alabama's a little down. John Mateer, I think Oklahoma and A&M are pretty neck and neck in a lot of ways.
That's probably. I was talking about it earlier. I hope that game isn't as high profile because I want to go to it. And tickets are going to be super expensive if they're both high profile teams. But yes, I agree. I think that game, that's one that I think might be kind of flying under the radar just because of who else is on this schedule. You go to LSU, you go to Alabama, Tennessee, Texas at home. I think most people are saying those 4 teams before they even get to Oklahoma. Yeah. Which might allow Oklahoma to sneak up and surprise some people because they are still a really good football team.
For sure.
And I guess, we get them second to last game of the season, so we will have already seen how they perform for most of the year. They're going to play the Red River Shootout against Texas before that, obviously. So that'll be a really good gauge, which... The problem with rivalry games is that I don't know that rivalry games are ever a good gauge of where a team is at.
Sure.
Because you look at 2018 Texas A&M LSU, the 7 overtime game. LSU was a much better team that year, but they had to come to College Station and play the team that was probably one of their bigger rivals in the SEC anyway at the time. In the Aggies, we kind of concentrated all that hate that we normally reserve for TU, but we hadn't played them in 6 years, so we let it all out against LSU. Rivalry games, you never really know what's going to happen. You saw us go to Arkansas last year and narrowly come away with that.
Right.
Very, very narrowly. The first time we had to go to Fayetteville in a long time. They come to Kyle Field this year. That's a trap game.
For sure. Like in every schedule, and like I think you look at the way South Carolina went last year, how Auburn ended up being a battle. You can't take conference games for granted. It's just it's just never gonna be a good strategy. They almost learned that the hard way. But it is really fascinating that maybe if you guys don't believe me or don't agree with me, you can hit the Texas Mobile One Lube Express inbox 979-693-1150. But I think no matter what happens, other than like an unmitigated disaster, you could tell exactly what the season's going to be by those final 2 games. Whether how you do against Oklahoma and Texas. If you win both of those games, I'm going to find it hard to believe that A&M isn't everything they think they are. Conversely, if they lose both of them, then we know A&M isn't who we think they are, right? If they lose both those games, there's a real world where, if they go into Oklahoma 10-0 and they drop both and go 10-2, they're going to limp into the playoffs and nobody's going to love that anyway, right? If they go into the season with a couple of losses and they win both of them, then they just resurrected their season. I think that's where you put those rivalry games at the end of the year and you put those situations in there to kind of be like season savers or season defining moments. It's really fascinating. But to get to Greg McElroy's point in totality, it's a tough slate, right? It's going to be tough sledding, at least on paper right now. God forbid, or any type of injuries, if somebody gets hurt, like a Sam Leavitt, a different game, right? Now, if he's not playing, it's a different game. What happens if something happens to Arch? It's a different game. Like, these are things that are out of our control. On paper, it looks very daunting. But if things start to break A&M's way and they go 11-1, are people going to discredit it? And do anybody even care if they do?
I have a hard time believing they would, just because of unless everybody on the schedule out of nowhere collapses and has a terrible season, which is kind of a little bit what happened last year. That's kind of what happened last year.
That's how they speak about it. Yeah,
like we had to go on the road to Missouri last year, and we thought that was going to be a tough game. And Missouri was fine. Yeah, but they were definitely not what they were.
No, they had their freshman quarterback.
Yeah,
a kid making his first start.
Yeah, people got hurt, like you said. LSU
fired their coach the next day, maybe 5 hours later. Right?
I mean, even They would have had to win that game for him to save his job, not just like keep it close.
Yeah.
And they did not keep it close.
Auburn made the forward pass look tough. You know what I mean? So
right,
it's just like
exactly. We did too in that game.
Yeah, for sure. And so we're going long here. We could talk about this forever, but we're going to catch the break, catch you on the other side. We're going to talk about the way you guys can win a Rudy's gift card coming up on The Zone.
The Money Machine. The Money Machine. The Money Machine. Back to school. Your next chance to win $5,000 begins July 27th.
That's unbelievable.
At Zone1150.com.
I have a confession.
Let's hear it.
I only know this because of Young Gravy.
That's the OG of it, but I understand. I know the song you're talking about. Yeah. See, I don't know if you noticed because you're the one who puts together the playlist. I try to go rap, old school, and I kind of do it.
Good mix.
You know what I mean? I'm trying to.
Sure.
If somebody our age or younger, I mean, you're younger than me, but if somebody in their low 30s to 20s hears this, I want them to be like, oh, rap music, hip hop. But then if somebody who's like a usual Louis shower listener, I want them to be like, oh, I know that song too. So I wasn't selfish in my selections,
for sure.
You know. And I don't know if you remember, was last week's playlist better in your mind or this one? Do you remember?
I don't know. I like them both.
I put too much thought into it, honestly.
I mean, rather be overthought than underthought.
And just tell you now, full caveat, in the next 2 weeks, obviously got 2 more Fridays to go. What's today? The 17th, so it'll be the 24th and the 31st, where I will be doing my final 2 episodes of July. I can't believe, July is zooming by like that. But if you hear Taylor Swift on there, it's because my wife demanded it. So just so you know, if you hear a Taylor Swift song, I have nothing against Taylor Swift, but it's me being a good husband to my wife. Caleb, we're wrapping up another episode 2 here in a second. And before we do that, the ticket booth here will be open thanks to Dixie Tire Company. Caller number 5 right now will get a $50 Rudy's gift card. Like I said, 979-693-1150. The ticket booth is open now. Thanks to Dixie Tire Company, $50 Rudy's gift card. Call in, win a prize. Let's hear it. And you know what? You might see me there. I haven't eaten any breakfast, any lunch. You might see me at Dixie Tire. At Rudy's Barbecue. What is your go-to at Rudy's? Because I have a go-to order.
Man, it's hard. With barbecue, my favorite is always brisket. So
yes.
Whether it's just
lean or
the
moist?
Brisket, depends on the day.
Okay.
Depends on the day. I think I would probably lean.
Okay. I'm fat, and I always
brisket
get the moist.
sandwich is either brisket sandwich or just brisket by itself.
Yeah.
I'm usually a sandwich guy though.
We talked obviously Michael Earley baseball. I went to every home game last year, except, believe it or not, the only baseball game I didn't go to was the last one because I had strep throat.
That's why we lost.
Yeah, I wasn't there. I had strep throat. So the only game I missed last year in Bluebell was that one. But I always get the barbecue sandwich, the brisket sandwich from Rudy's they got at Bluebell Park. Food's great. You might catch me there. Like I said, caller number 5 into the ticket booth. We'll get that there. And you know what, Caleb? Another week down. I didn't burn the place down. We're still kicking. We're still rocking. Catch you guys next Friday. Catch you on Wednesday. Catch you next week. Peace out on The Zone.